Cubs fans, and welcome to a brand new edition of Cubs on Tap. I am Ron Luce. I'm working double Cubs duty tonight. I was on live with the Dingers boys before this. If you haven't caught that show, be sure to go check that out. But I am joined by the one, the only. His name sounds like a type of Italian cheese. Mr. Joey Ricotta, my friend, crack 'em. How are you doing tonight on this Monday evening, my friend? Cheers.
Salud. Cheers. I'm doing great, man. I'm doing great. Got a nice little nap in after work and woke up not too terribly long ago. And, you always feel a little bit groggy when you wake up when you're from a nap that you weren't supposed to take. But the slumber aside, the Cubs woke up from their slumber. So I'm doing good. Yeah, you weren't ready for that one, right?
That was a hell of a transition. That might be up there with top Joey Ricotta top conversation transitions ever. And I'm a big fan of it, buddy. Because like you said, this Cubs team awoke from a slumber. They lose the series to the Pirates at home. I was at that series finale in which you and Nick then recapped on our last live show, Joey. And things weren't feeling too good. I think there was a couple of Cubs fans, myself included, who kind of went, cool, this is how they piss away the season, is by losing 2 of 3 to the Pirates. Oh, and then you have this Rockies team that just beat you 2 of 3 the week prior coming into your backyard. But instead of rolling over and dying, Joey, instead of them not playing good baseball, instead of them letting these Rockies spoil their season, Joey, they came out and they got the sweep. And they did it in pretty impressive fashion because 2 of these games they had a really battle for the victory. Friday, which was Cubs on Tap at the ballpark day, they didn't have to battle. That one was a blowout 6-0 win. That was a good one. And we celebrated accordingly in Wrigleyville afterwards. We'll touch on that here in a little bit. But Joey, just starting from the top here, buddy, overall thoughts on this 3-game sweep over the Rockies over the weekend?
Exactly what they needed. You mentioned it. Me and Nick sat here on this show, and I think I might have even titled the episode that "Pissing Away the Season." Something along those lines. No idea exactly what it was, but you can find that easily if you go to your podcast feed or our YouTube channel and see whatever the title was. It felt like, right? I mean, you were there that Thursday, and that did not feel good. That was not one of those games where, in the whole series, really, it's been, I think I mentioned it, that they had not won a series since the Giants series. And that's a pretty long time, coming into now the Rockies series where, man, you get that sweep. We're riding high. We got a little bit of momentum. There's some things that we're going to talk about on the show that really kind of favor the Cubs going into these next 2 series, at least in my eyes. You might be looking at it well, how does anything favor them when they're facing the Braves and the Brewers? But I think there are some things that you can point to and say, hey, this is kind of like perfect timing, right? Overall thoughts, it's just you did exactly what you needed to do. That last game, little pins and needles there. But hard-fought victories there in Saturday and Sunday's games. And then Friday, it was just, like you said, Cubs on Tap, slaughter fest. I mean, you guys were, the creatures in the bleachers out there on Friday. But so I know you guys had a great time from what it sounds like. I'm looking forward to hearing maybe some stories on the show. But, I'm just thrilled by the way that this team responded because absolutely when you needed it in the crunch time, you came through, and we're going to need more of that for these next 6 games.
100%. And Joey, this team's getting down to the point in the year where we know guys are tired. We know this team's a little burnt out. You can see it, right? I think a lot of these teams that are still hanging around in the wild card are feeling that way, right? Now the new format of baseball more than ever because of the expanded playoffs, there's more teams that are truly going for it this late in the year. And because of that, you are starting to see a lot of these teams just are fighting tooth and nail just to stay alive because of the point in the season that they've hit, right? The Dodgers, the Braves, these teams that are at the top of their divisions are still playing good ball, but they're coasting, right? They're comfortable. They know they're going into the playoffs, and then that's when they're going to really have to turn it on. When teams like the Cubs, the Diamondbacks, who infamously today they lose to the Yankees, they have now slid into a tie with the Cubs for that second wild card spot. There's 3 teams within a game of these last 2 playoff positions. I mean, it's getting tight here down the stretch. These teams are just fighting tooth and nail to stay alive right now. And that's really where it's getting to. So I agree with you, Joe. This team did what they needed to do. They took 2 of 3, or they took all 3, but 2 of 3 coming in a bit of, we got to grind this one out. We got to get big dub. We got to really come through in the right moments. Scott's in here in the comments saying, where were you when Patrick Wisdom saved the Cubs season on Sunday? He saved my sanity on Sunday, that's for damn sure, because the Chicago Bears did nothing to help me on Sunday. Patrick Wisdom single-handedly saved my Sunday. So good for you, Wisdom. I hope you got all the good stuff coming to you after the game, because man, oh man, that home run was huge. But Joey, on that topic, right? It's late in the season. This team's burned out. You could tell they were burned out, right? And just as much as the Chicago Cubs are burned out, admittedly, us here at Cubs on Tap, I think, are a little burned out too, right? We've been along for the ride here on what is this marathon, and we're not out there playing games every night, but we're here on the microphone talking about things. We're getting good content. We're showing up at the ballpark. We're doing a lot of good stuff as not only Cubs fans, but in this case, people that cover the Chicago Cubs. Joey, to me, Friday went off without a hitch for the Chicago Cubs with that 6-0 victory, and they carried that energy with them for the last 2 games because A, Wrigley was bopping. B, it was the last weekend series of the season, so people were ready, right, to enjoy Wrigley for one last time. And you better fucking believe that Cubs on Tap set the tone on Friday afternoon in the bleachers, buddy. And we're bummed. Unfortunately we couldn't get you out there. We couldn't get Nick out there either. We tried. People, this was like a month in the works. We were tinkering schedules. We were begging people to put, get whatever shifted around they needed to shift around in their lives to try to get all 5 of us there. Unfortunately, we weren't able to, but myself, Juice, and Tyler came all the way up from Kentucky for the weekend, brought his lovely bride as well. She put up with all of our hooliganisms in the bleachers. A couple of the friends of the program of ours, my buddy Joe, my buddy Kyle, joined us in the bleachers as well. Joey, when I say that we hit, like, the sun felt like 105 by the 7th inning, it was one of those days in the bleachers. We were getting after it. It was a beautiful day. It was a beautiful day to be at the ballpark. Couldn't have asked for better weather. We got, we're knocking on Murphy's door at 10:30 in the morning. And we're saying we're here and we're ready to party. The pink lemonade vodkas were going down like ice water. And we rolled into the ballpark, Joey. We set the tone. And I believe a big reason for the Cubs sweep this weekend was the fans, not just Cubs on Tap, but everybody that showed out. It was a great atmosphere. Even Friday, right? Friday's the one weekday game technically still. And, people were ready. KB got the ovation that he absolutely deserved. I'm glad nobody booed him. Like,
yeah,
good on the Cubs fans this year for getting your shit in order and not being all over him. He got a nice ovation. He loved it too. He talked about it after the game, what it meant to him. And I was sitting with my lovely lady later at night, getting ready to tear up. And she's like, "What's wrong?" And I'm like, KB can't be doing this to us right now and giving us things to feel. But dude, it was a bender. We had a good time. We danced at Cubby Bear. We made some friends. It was a good day. It was a good day. It was a good way to celebrate the final, because I think that's the one thing that you saw a lot of people on Twitter kind of doing this weekend was like reflecting. And, it'd be so easy to make some big post on Twitter and or X or whatever the fuck you want to call it. And, tell people that way. But I kind of want to just do it really quick here. It felt awesome to be at the ballpark the final week of the season when the Cubs are playing meaningful baseball. And it's always a beautiful day to be at Wrigley. Don't get me wrong. I have never once showed up to Wrigley like I don't want to be here. Never have I ever in my entire life been like that. Even when they're not good in years past, didn't matter. I don't care that it was 2012 and Alfonso Soriano was just taking at bats just to give somebody, give the team somebody to just put a helmet on at the end of the day. Didn't matter. It was still a beautiful day to be at Wrigley. Friday was spectacular. Truly was. And the Cubs came out and they showed out to play. And although weren't able to get there for Saturday and Sunday, which son of a bitch, you were there Sunday. You gotta let us know how Sunday was. But not being here the last 2 days and that tighter baseball game. But I think there's that Friday going out with a big win, a stress-free win, as Juice always likes to say, especially when the Juice and Lou show is on the air. We love stress-free wins because our blood pressure does not handle them well when they're stressful. Friday was an incredible way to round out the season. And Joey, I got to know. I mean, Scott asks, where were you when Patrick Wisdom saved the Cubs season on Sunday? I was watching it on television. You, however, my friend, were in those beautiful bleachers watching that home run leave the yard, man. What was your experience like on Sunday?
Yeah, I was getting ready to say that. We can answer that question. Where were you when Patrick Wisdom saved the season? I was right there.
Section 504.
It was incredible, man. And I'm glad you guys had such a great time on Friday. Obviously, I'm sorry that I couldn't make it on Friday. And I know Nick wanted to be there too. And
no apologies necessary, because remember what comes up in January.
Yes, we will be doing that in January.
Lots of foreshadowing, folks, but continue, Joey. Continue.
We will be doing that in January again. And that was a lot of fun this last year, too. And, by the way, it's funny that you mentioned that. At the game on Sunday, I actually wore my Cubs Con little gym bag, too.
Nice.
So, you know how I like to bring in a gym bag when I like to carry it.
Yeah.
So, full circle and foreshadowing for this next year. But, yeah, it was incredible, man. When you say it's good to watch competitive baseball towards the end of the season in a hunt, in a playoff hunt, where every pivotal moment, like every moment is a key pitch, a key at bat, a key situation at Wrigley Field, and everybody's into the game. Like this, these are not that Cubs fans aren't smart. There's a lot of smart Cubs fans, a lot. And I don't mean to anything by what I'm about to say, but you had smart fans in attendance this weekend. Like the people that I was sitting around that we were by, me and Kayla, like little whispers here and there. Like even if you weren't directly in the conversation, you could hear just intense conversations about, PCA, you should have seen the slide that he had in the minors when he had that triple, and then like crazy stuff like that. And also talking key situations. I mean, I was getting into conversations about Leiter Jr.'s overuse, and then Merriweather and these guys being tired, and it's just a different feel. It's a different feel when you're, and I can't remember in my life, and this is just because probably where I live also, so I can't make too many games, of course, just busy schedules, yada, yada. But this is different than last year, me going to the game and it's, the Washington Nationals in September or whatever it was last year. Like, and you're not in a race. This is the first time that I really can feel like I've been there at the ballpark, years of being a fan, when they played competitive baseball. And that's on me too, because throughout all those runs that they were on from 2015 to whenever, I never got a chance to make any of those games in the competitive window. That's changed now that me and you are, what we are as far as season ticket holders. But so it's definitely going to change a lot moving forward there too. But like when Wisdom hits that bomb, dude, the energy in the ballpark, and that's just one game out of the three, right? So, I mean, I know what you guys don't know the exact vibes that you guys are feeling, but I can only imagine what it was like, especially while you guys are on a bender. And
Jared Young hitting a home run was the most like, holy shit. Wait, that was Young?
Yeah.
Okay, whatever. Holy shit, let's go. You know what I mean? It was one of those moments. So I feel that.
Same thing though, man. Like Wisdom, and we know he can't hit home runs. Like that's like the only thing he really does when he hits.
Sure.
But that thing, my God, man. And you knew it when it left the bat, and just the all the arms going up after it before it leaves the yard. It's a wild feeling. Like, it's an intense, uplifting type of feeling. Yeah, a lot of fun, man. Just a lot of fun this weekend. I'm so glad that basically all of us were able to make a game this weekend. And, me and Nick sat here on the show and we said Cubs on Tap is going to set the tone, or I don't know if it was set the tone, whatever we said. You guys being there on Friday, like, let's see these guys. I think they're going to come out there on Friday and absolutely crush the ball while you guys are in attendance, because that's the only way. That's what had to happen. I feel like you guys, we needed to be there. You guys needed to be there for this whole thing to turn around. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it, Ron.
I like it. Joey, I will say I learned something else on Sunday as well. I won't name any names or specifics, but somebody within the operation of what makes a Cubs game, and whether that's people that work in the stadium, people that work on television, people that play for the team, what have you. When we say, I don't even want to use the word joke, because it's not a joke. It's not a joke. When we say the Cubs listen to Cubs on Tap, the Cubs listen to Cubs on Tap, folks. Okay, like, we're coming. Everybody knows who Cubs on Tap is. Everybody knows who we are. We're not a secret anymore, and people know we're coming, and we're setting the motherfucking tempo. And we did. We absolutely set that tempo on Friday. I will say, Joey, quickly on the point of wisdom here before we talk about some of the other keynotes from this series, and obviously look ahead to the importance of the next 6 days. Patrick Wisdom is probably the one player on this team. Morel's probably a very close second. That, like, there are just some home runs when they leave the bat and you just go, holy shit, that thing's not stopping. I remember I was at that Sunday game, Memorial Day weekend, when they lost to the Reds before the Stroman complete game shutout on Monday against the Rays. And the only runs that day came off 2 Patrick Wisdom homers. That first homer, we were the third to last row in section 504. The ball hit at the end of our row. His one home run. I mean, that thing's almost clearing the bleachers on a fly. And I know balls can end up on Waveland because they cleared the short porch on the one side of the bleachers. Yo, this thing went. I mean, it was an absolute tank shot. And Sunday's home run was the same way, man. And it's just, like you said, like, there's some guys when it hits and it leaves the bat, it's gone. And that was 100% one of those homers, just the way he hits the ball. But Joey, like we said, right, 6-0 win on Friday. Seiya Suzuki, a big key to that. He had 3 of the team's 7 hits in that victory, including his 20th homer of the season. You followed that up with a 6-3 victory on Saturday, which saw a pretty balanced offense. Miles Masterboni and Nico Horner, the 2 guys with multi-hits in this one. But overall, a really good day. We got to see Stroman start a game Saturday. Assad obviously came and ultimately got the win and was really fucking good. We saw Merriweather and Quas as well in that one. And then on Sunday, the big Wisdom homer take care of business. Seiya Suzuki, another good day for him. 2 of the team's 7 hits. And Jordan Wicks, another really strong 6 innings of work from the youngster. And the Cubs get out of there with the sweep. Joey, one thing I learned from this series for the Cubs is, they're getting back to the point again where it's not the same suspects every day. Cody Bellinger's been kind of cold the last couple weeks, and yet this team is still finding ways to score runs and do it with, kind of unheralded guys stepping up in the lineup when they absolutely need to. I also learned that Julian Merriweather is kind of a dude, if we didn't already know that, and he's very rightfully so the guy getting the ball in the 9th until Adbert is healthy. But I also learned, Joey, that I think, the Cubs have been able to lean on some young guys late in the season here, and even if it's only sparingly, right? We haven't seen a whole lot of PCA necessarily, more of that, late inning defensive replacement. We got to see a little bit of Canario entering the lineup on on Sunday. Went 0 for 2, but still got to see him nonetheless. This Cubs team, man, is fun. That's what I learned from this series. Like, there's a lot of things, right? The lineup carried certain guys. Seiya's hot. This was a good series for him. The pitching got it done, both starting and relieving. Guys stepped up in really big moments and in clutch spots. Julian Merriweather on Saturday, I think, is a perfect example of that to keep the Rockies off the board in the top of the 8th.
Oh my God, that the way he clutched up because he got himself into the trouble.
Sure did, and then he got himself out of the trouble too. But Joey, I will go quickly back to one of the statements I made a little bit earlier this year on this show, and that outside of that 2016 team, because obviously that's the championship winner, and that team's always going to have a special place in our hearts. I can very confidently sit here and say, even though the 2015 team was a ton of fun and they overachieved, the 17 team had a lot of things that made them fun. Each of those teams had something that made them fun. This 2023 team might be one of my favorite Cubs teams ever. I think just because of the kind of weird cast of characters coming into the season that they had brought together that a lot of people doubted. And yet this team was somehow able to turn it around and despite being not great coming into the All-Star break, go on an incredible run and play their legitimate best baseball down the stretch here to give themselves a chance. And it's kind of that no quit, like it's us against the world mentality that I think the 2023 Cubs have had that makes this team one of my favorite teams in my memory as a Cubs fan, just because of the adversity that they've overcome, the band of characters that it is, and just, how we follow them here too at Cubs on Tap. This has been a really fun season. And that's a lot of what I learned, I think, in this series as well, is just whether it's Julian Merriweather getting out of a situation late, whether it's Seiya Suzuki having a 3-hit day on Friday with his 20th homer after the guy had an oblique injury earlier this year, or, even if it's just this, or even if, or even if it's the fans giving KB a noted welcome on Friday. It's different here. It's different on the north side and at Wrigley Field. We learned a lot of cool things, I think, about the Cubs as a franchise and the Cubs fan base and this Cubs team that I don't want to end anytime soon. A little foreshadowing here when we get to these next 6 days coming up in just a minute. But, dude, what are some of the other, kind of overarching takeaways you had from this series sweep?
Yeah, you said a lot of great things right there. This, to me, I'm in the same boat as you. This is one of the most fun teams. And part of that is I do believe doing this show, hanging out with you guys, starting the season off again, making it like a tradition, opening day, starting it off that way. And then you guys obviously ending it off, great note Friday, and then us there Sunday. But the fun that this team is, they really are. They're entertaining. You don't know. They're a resilient bunch. But you never know what you're going to get on a day-to-day basis. It's something different, I feel like we see on a day-to-day basis. Earlier in the year, it was a lot of different things, right? Different ways that they were finding ways to lose, and a lot of it was bullpen, issues. Then they turned that around, and then, there was – you don't know how they're going to pull it out, but you can't count them out at this point. You just can't count them out. This team, a lot of people, like you said, people were not expecting them to be here. I think our predictions, as far as record-wise, they're going to smash just about all of our predictions. Hopefully. But the fun that this team is, there's no denying how much entertainment value has been there this season. And yeah, that's pretty much my main takeaway. I was a little bit sad though Sunday that KB wasn't in the lineup, but then looking at the final score of a 4-3 game, I don't think I want KB in the lineup in a 4-3 game with the Cubs as your opponent, and you're returning to Wrigley and you've gotten all these ovations all series long. I think I felt pretty good about him being out of the lineup after it was all said and done, but that's the one that I wanted to see live. I wanted to see KB back at Wrigley, so I was a little bit personally sad about that on Sunday. But other than that, man, like we said, did exactly what you needed to do. Assad is an absolute dog. I love Assad. I don't care what role he's in. This guy, he's got it. Whatever it is, he has it. Because he comes in there and it's the glasses for me, and then the just to walk off the mound when he gets it done and just pinpoint with that sinker, whether he's running it back to the inside corner against lefties, whether it's, a solid pitch up in the zone against a righty. Like, Assad is absolutely coming through in whatever role he needs to. And that's huge because now you look at it. If this team does, and we want them to, and we think they will, I think, lots of knocks on the wood, make the playoffs, Assad's going to be an absolute weapon for this team if it's a starter or a reliever. So another huge takeaway for me was that, I think. But, yeah, to your point, Bellinger being a little bit cold, one of the guys in the bleachers that I was talking to was like, doesn't it feel like Bellinger's due for, he's kind of due for a homer here? It's been a little bit. And I'm like, yeah, I was kind of thinking that in my head. Like, yeah, Belly's probably going to go yard. He was Kayla's pick to hit a home run on Sunday. And, of course, I had to sprinkle like $5 each of the picks that we both made. Canario was mine just because I thought that'd be freaking awesome. And then Seiya because he was so hot. So I had 5 players I put $5 on. Lost all $5. It's fine. They won the game. So, no, man, that's pretty much it, though. Those are my main takeaways from this weekend. It'd be nice to see everybody clicking at the right time here, these next 6 games.
Absolutely. I agree with you wholeheartedly, Joey. These next 6 games are important, and I think that's where we are going to swear our conversation here. One quick comment from our friend Darren says, Gomes and Talkman, blue-collar guys packing their lunchbox and showing up. It's true, though. And, to me, there's a lot of guys on this team that operate that way. Even a guy like Nico Horner, to an extent, is that way. Ian Happ is that way. All these guys just show up and they try to give you their best baseball on every given day. And that's all you can ask for out of a team. And that's why this team has been able to be successful the way they have. But Joey, 6 important games are on the horizon for these Cubbies. Obviously, we're here live on a Monday, which has been a bit rare for us, especially when they have off days. Obviously, no show Sunday has resulted in that tonight. But had a really great conversation with the Dinger guys before this as well. And we were a couple of the questions had come from listeners of Dingers, friends of the show, friends of our show as well. Shout out guys like Mike Dubs and some of the others. The confidence level for the Cubbies coming in this week is, I think people are a little on edge in a good way, right? Because there's something to play for here, but also everybody's starting to kind of look at this team and they're like, the P word, and I'm not talking about practice. We don't talk about practice. Remember, AI said it. We talk about practice.
Practice?
No, the other P word. That is on the minds of everybody right now. And Joey, I mean, I know that the technical start date for that wild card series isn't until October 3rd, but in my mind as a Cubs fan, the Major League Baseball playoffs for the Chicago Cubs start on Tuesday, September 26th against the Atlanta Braves, because right now they are playing for their playoff lives. Arizona loses today, so they are now tied with the Cubs at 82-74 for that second wild card spot. Outside of that, man, Miami's on their heels, a game out. Pretty much San Francisco and San Diego can be eliminated effectively with a win and a loss, even though San Diego's 9-1 in their last 10. They've been able to hang around somehow. The Reds really the only other team that can threaten their 2.5 out. But so, Joe, it really comes down. 3 teams are fighting for 2 spots.
Mm-hmm.
And the Cubs have the hardest schedule of all
4,
3.
really, right? 4 with the D-backs?
If you include the Reds, the D-backs, yes. The D-backs are already included in that. But if you really look at the 3, if you include the Marlins and the D-backs and the Cubs, all within a game of each other, Cubs have the hardest schedule. D-backs got the White Sox for 3 in Chicago. They'll actually be here starting on Tuesday in the Chicagoland area. And then they are home for the Astros, which who knows if the Astros are really playing for anything at that point in that last week of the season. The Marlins have the New York Mets. I believe they're in New York for that one. And then they come home to play the Pirates they're in Pittsburgh, I think, for the last 3. I think the Marlins are just like the Cubs. They're on the road for all 6. But then for the Cubbies, it's the Braves and the Brew Crew. Joey, how are you feeling going into this week? Kind of a question similar to what we discussed over at Dingers, but I would love to get your thoughts on it. How are you feeling going into this week? And what do you think they need to do at bare minimum, truthfully, in these next 6 games to, give us a chance to be talking about a certain P word and going into the P thing come next week?
Oh, you don't even want to say it. You don't even want to say it.
I'm not superstitious. I'm just a little stitious here, Joey.
I understand. I totally understand. I'm not really afraid to say it because I do believe, like you said, I think it does start tomorrow night.
Yep.
I do believe that. I love the way you put that. I'm nervous. I'm excited. I'm going to be on edge. It's all the feels. It's exactly the way that you want it to be at this time of year. Exactly the way you want it to be.
Oh, yeah.
I think it'd be nice to have your spot locked in. It would. It really would. But yeah, they did exactly. I mean, again, it goes back to last series. It is the Rockies, and understandably so that it's the Rockies. But you needed that momentum. It not only you needed the wins to stay where you're at, but you needed the momentum to feel good about going in the series. And looking at who they possibly might have returning, I mean, it sounds like Edward Alzolay could be back soon. So that's good. I know he's been throwing bullpens. We'll see. Maybe he's back this series. Maybe he's back for the Brewers series. And Candelario, the Candyman. They said best case scenario, Ross said that he'd be back on Sunday. Otherwise, we're going to be looking at maybe Tuesday. So he could be back tomorrow. We'll see. I don't know if he's going to be activated. He's going to be in the lineup or not.
Fun quick fact about the Candyman. I saw him outside of the Raising Canes on Thursday night getting out of his car because he was still there. Well, because I think they said Thursday he could have been activated at the earliest, and I hadn't heard a report getting into the game. And I'm walking by, and I looked to my left, and all of a sudden he was like, getting out of his car to move it or something. And I was just like, Jamer? And he kind of did one of these. Yeah, he kind of did one of these, and I was like, oh, well, clearly you weren't activated before the game tonight.
Yeah. He's out there enjoying himself.
Hell yeah. I hope he got himself some Raising Canes too.
Me too. Yeah, Raising Canes is good stuff. But yeah, I mean, kind of like where I'm at with this Braves series too, because he starts with this one. And obviously it's Steele tomorrow, right? Steele versus Elder. Game 1, as I believe the announcements. The Braves, then you look at the rest of the guys that the Cubs are going to throw out there. Sounds like J-Mo game 2 and Stroman sounds like game 3.
Correct.
The Braves, Bryce Elder, that's a tough competition. But you have Steele and Mount. And the bats is really the main thing, I think, this series with the Braves, because you're not going to have Max Fried. You're not going to have Charlie Morton. You're not going to have Spencer Strider. You're not going to see him. Right, Kyle Wright. So Fried going on the IL was huge, and so was Charlie Morton. Like, it's like perfect timing that the Cubs are going to face the Braves here, not only resting potentially guys like regulars and bullpen arms, but you're not going to see those main horses in the rotation. Who knows who's going to be taking some of those starts? I think I was looking at it. Darius Vines could potentially make a start here. It looks like he's been like a long relief guy. He's made a start this season, but
see, I want to so desperately make the joke, the who joke, but I'm going to do that, and he's going to go out and shit pump for 6 innings. And
right. Don't we know?
We're respecting. If they wear the A in a blue and red uniform, they get respected this week. I don't give a rat's ass what their name is.
It really doesn't matter, right? It could be the shittiest pitcher in the planet, and he could come out there and go 8 innings. It's random. Baseball's random. So
well, look at the Braves, right? Like, look at this year. Elder comes up and has had a monster year. Before a couple of years ago, nobody knew who Spencer Strider was. Now he's arguably one of the best pitchers in baseball.
No, he's Thizilla. Yeah.
Thizilla. And like you noted, they're missing 2 of their best pitchers in Fried and Morton, but they also have guys like Kyle Wright. And they infamously have somebody that can come up and take over as their next guy, because that's just how the Braves operate. They're a well-run organization, and they sometimes really make me mad because of how well-run they are, Joey.
Well, and of course you have family down that way too. So, I'm sure you get into a lot of conversations about the Atlanta Braves, and it's always we always have a lot of friends. I feel like, and no matter what team you're a fan of, you have a lot of friends who are either Cubs fans or Braves fans or Yankees fans because they're everywhere. The Dodgers, like those teams, the Braves are just one of those teams, and I think one of the games will actually be on TBS, which is kind of cool though that we're going to be on TBS for one of the games for.
You want to know what's really funny? Can we address that really quick here?
Yeah.
So the Tuesday night game is the one that's on TBS. So tomorrow's game or today's game, depending when you're listening to the show. You want to hear the really ironic part of this? TBS for out of market only. The people in Atlanta can't watch the game on TBS. They have to watch it on shitty Bally Sports Southeast.
Oh, that's horseshit. That's horseshit.
Oh, it's awesome, though. It's the most stupid thing on the face of the planet. Turner Sports is you can make the same argument with the Cubs and WGN, but like Turner Broadcasting is the whole reason the Braves are as popular as they are, especially in the Southeast. Like for those that don't understand, if you start at the Mason-Dixon line effectively in like Kentucky, you go south all the way down to the edge of Florida. Like you'll probably find more Braves fans in Florida than you will Rays and Marlins fans. Let's be frank. All the way to the East Coast, everybody in the Carolinas and probably even into Virginia, partially are Braves fans. And then you're looking all the way pretty much east to like Houston or west, to Houston. Like everybody in Atlanta. Justin Steele probably grew up a Braves fan, right? Being from Mississippi. Like that's how the Braves were for a long time. It's the Southeast is dominated. That's Atlanta Braves country because of Turner Broadcasting. The game's going to be on Turner Broadcasting, and the people in the Turner Broadcasting market can't even fucking watch it.
Horrible.
Shame on Bally Sports. Anyway, continue.
Shame. That is pretty awful. A part of me is feeling like, you know what? I guess I understand because it's your home broadcast that you're gonna have nowadays, right? Like whoever's calling their games.
Dude, you know how bad it is down there? Bally Sports, which is supposed to be like the NBC equivalent in the Chicagoland area. Obviously, Marquee's a little specialized, and we understand that. Bally Sports isn't even on fucking YouTube TV down there. It's not even available. You have to have like top-notch cable to watch the Braves.
That's ridiculous with all the streaming that is happening now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Stupid. So they don't want people to watch the game. I don't want to go down this rabbit hole tonight, Ron, because we easily can do it.
I got to go down it one more time, and it's going to round out perfectly. You know why? Because you know what other cities represented by the Bally Sports people? Fucking St. Louis. Fuck the Cardinals. Anyway,
yeah, fuck the Cardinals. Thank you. Actually, that was beautiful. I like that segue, too. 2 for 2 in segues tonight.
Look at us. Who would have thought?
2 for 2. I love that. Yeah, back to the series, though, I guess. Fuck the Cardinals again. But also fuck Chip Gary.
Every time I think of that, I think back, and I know we're getting really off topic, folks. Bear with us. It's the Joey and Ron show. You guys are used to this by now.
Yeah.
Every time I think of Chip Gary, I think of the Tyler Edmonds promo.
Me too.
Every single time. It is like clockwork. And for those that don't know, and maybe Mr. Lefevre Fever, the GOAT, is like listening to this part and hears it and is inspired to cut away to remind everybody of what that was. But that might single-handedly be one of the greatest promos ever. And it was just to shit on Chip Caray becoming the Cardinals broadcaster. To say, finally! Incredible. Absolutely incredible. If you don't know what I'm referring to, you'll have to go listen to it. I will find the episode. If I remember, I will put it in the YouTube comments. If I don't come after me. I'll find it and I'll refer you to the episode. All you need to listen to is the last 5.5 minutes of it. Truthfully.
Yeah. I don't know if we'll ever hear another promo on this show or anything quite like it, like we did.
I don't know if there will be another one that will make me laugh as hard as that one did in the moment.
Tyler might outdo himself, though. Let's be
He might.
honest.
I will tell you what, Joey. When I start to break down every Cubs on Tap show when Tyler's on, whether it's with a big group of us or whether it's just like him and I, as soon as I start getting to the reminding people where they can find us, my brain immediately goes to what is this son of a bitch going to pull out tonight in the promo? Like immediately, that's where my brain cuts to. I'm like, I got to wrap this up because I want to give him the microphone because I don't know where it's going to go. It could be very just seldom and humble on a certain night, FTC. Hey, don't remember Cardinals. We know where you are in the standings. It could be very low level like that, or he could do it up like he did on that one. You know what I mean? So all over the place.
I'm going to look forward to some of these off-season shows where there's plenty of us probably on the mic. The off-season, especially like the end of season special. That's I'm gonna tell Tyler you got to do something. And it's gonna be off the cuff no matter what it is, I'm sure. But
we're gonna hit him with like the zoom in on the StreamYard thing here, where we can just zoom him out to be the big screen. It's gonna be good. Anyway, back to the Brave series. Joe, you said you had some thoughts on this.
Yeah,
no, I'll pull us out of the rabbit hole really quick.
Get us back, Ron. Get us back. What's that fishing pole? Yeah, there you go. Reel us in. Yeah, I mean, for this series in particular, though, I think it's definitely going to be about run prevention. How many runs can you? Of course, it's going to be about scoring as well, but Steele hasn't been as great the last couple times out. I think it's been 6 runs each of the last couple times out. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, though. But
doing a stat check.
He's had a couple of rough patches here, which some of that's been just some batted ball luck, I think. I don't think he's really been as bad as the numbers will show you.
6 earned in his last 2.
6 earned in one. Okay.
Yep, 6 earned runs in both games.
And some of that, it's batted ball luck, it's weak contact bullshit, bleeders and bullshit, just kind of sneaking their way through. And I get it. I mean, that's going to happen. That's baseball. But you hope that this series is not going to be one of those series where the weak contact specials will come into play and the Cubs get outlucked. I really hope that this is not what's going to decide the season. And saying that, again, because we shouldn't say things that we don't want to happen. You don't put that out in the air like that. Plus, you also don't put the P word out in the air, apparently. So, there's a lot of things it's going to be about run prevention, I think, because this lineup is absolutely insane, as we know. Ronald Acuna is doing things this year that you have never seen before in your life. With the home runs and the stolen bases. Then you have Matt Olson, Austin Riley. The list goes on and on with this team. Sean Murphy. So many different guys that can absolutely swing it. Not to mention Ozzie Albies. There's so many guys in this lineup that's going to be difficult matchups for, especially the bullpen too. One thing I wanted to point out, I thought it was really good that the Cubs got Mark Leiter Jr. sneakily. It doesn't feel like this to me. He hasn't pitched since the 20th. So Mark Leiter Jr.'s actually got a little bit of rest kind of coming into this series of these last 2 series, which could be huge for him because over his last 10 innings pitched, the guy's got an ERA over 7. So it hasn't quite been the same. That splitter hasn't really been splitting like it was for the majority of the season. And I think a lot of that is overuse and just kind of wearing and tearing because he's not used to this type of workload. Let's be honest. Same goes for, at least from a regular games pitched standpoint, because the guy has started in the minors and things like that before. But on this level, he's not used to this workload. Julian Merriweather, he's dealt with injuries. He's he's been really good the last series. He's clutched up, but you could kind of see the little bit of fatigue heading towards the stretch here. So watching guys maybe potentially returning like Alzolay, I don't know where Michael Fulmer is. I don't even know if he'll be back by the end of the season. I kind of don't think so. We're going to need some good starting pitching outings, and we're going to need some good bullpen performances. I truly believe that's the key to winning this series. But yeah, what do you think, Ron?
I agree with you. I think for this Cubs team, Joey, This series is about keeping your foot on the gas, right? Because they've shown when they play their best baseball, and this was something that Scott slid into the comments on the Dingers show and said too, that like this Cubs team plays up to their competition. They do. They play the good teams hard, and they sometimes will play down to the bad teams, and that's why they lose series like they did to the Rockies. But this series, they just need to jump out and attack. And I truly think a really good Justin Steele start on Tuesday can help set the tempo for this entire series too. I really think that can give this team that motivation to say, hey, our ace has got our back. Let's go have his back. The bats show up. Belly needs to have a big series. A guy I'm counting on, and I'll spoil it right away here. He's my Fly the W pick for this Brave series. It's the former Brave. It's his first time back at Truist since becoming a Cub. Dansby Swanson is going to have every reason in the world to have the series of his fucking life Tuesday through Thursday. And this is what this dude lives for. The dude's like the ultimate competitor. Oh, I got to go beat my old team to give my current team a chance to get to the dance.
Lives
Yeah.
for it.
Yeah. Let me put these boys on my back and get this shit done. I mean, that's what it's going to be this week, and that's what they're going to need out of a lot of guys. They need a big week out of Belly. They need Seiya to continue to be hot. I think run prevention is going to be key too, but don't be surprised if one or two of these games the Cubs have to get into a slugfest with the Braves. And they need their big bats to step up. They need Seiya Suzuki to be big. They need Dansby Swanson to be big. They need Cody Bellinger to be big. And hell, this is the perfect time of the season for a monster Ian Happ series. I know he owns parts of the Midwest in Pittsburgh and Cincinnati, but son of a bitch, if he's looking to, to grow and expand his ownership interest, getting down to Hotlanta would be a great place to go too. And just because if they can take 2 of 3 against the Braves, that momentum carries then into the Brewers series. Because realistically, by then the Brewers should have the division wrapped up. Unfortunately, but that should be the case. So they can really just kind of sit back and say, you know what, screw it. Let's let the Cubs stay here and play us for 3 games where we get to set our pitching rotation. Let them win these games just so they stay in. They could also be the dickheads too, though, that say, or we can just knock them out and force the Marlins or the D-backs to come play here too. They need to pick. The momentum needs to be created. I think that needs to happen in this Brave series, and it all starts with Tuesday's game. Joey, any additional kind of final thoughts looking ahead before we kind of give some of the details on tomorrow's game? And I've already shared my Fly the W. I'll share it again briefly, but before we get into some Fly the W picks and shut this thing down, any other thoughts on what they need to do going forward for this Atlanta series?
Yeah, I think, wow, offense early. You saw how big that has been in some of these games. I think if you put away a team early, not to say the Braves are a team that's going to fall off. You put a little offense on them early, they're not necessarily going to go away. They're not that kind of team. They're not that kind of lineup. They're not the Rockies. They're not the Diamondback. Well, Diamondbacks have a pretty good lineup, but they're not some of these other teams where that is even more critical. But I think it only helps you that much more when you get those runs on the board early. And I think we've seen the big difference in a lot of these Cubs games when they do that. When you put runs on the board early, yeah, this team is resilient. This team can come back, and this team will score runs late to make it a closer game or win the game. They've done that too. But it's a lot more of a momentum thing, in my opinion, when you do have to go into the game. I'd rather be in the bullpen late, sweating out a close victory with a lead than trailing and like, oh shit, where's this come from? Like, it's just one of those things. And I do think, like, to your point about Happ, I think this is a good matchup for him. Like, looking at the couple of these pitchers, if Vines does indeed get the start, in that one of those games, and it's Elder, I think he can really match up well with both Elder or Vines, just looking at kind of what their pitch makers are. I was doing that while you were talking because I feel like Happ is kind of coming into, he stepped up a little bit here lately too.
Yeah.
So and we know he's kind of a late season performer, second half of the season kind of performer, and he's done that again this year for us. So, and I say us because we live and die by this team, I feel like, in many nights. So it is us. So, anyways, yeah. Kind of I don't know, my last thoughts for the Braves series in particular. I don't know if we're going for the Brewers series too. I feel like I have a pretty good idea of what the matchups are going to be, just looking ahead of which pitchers we're going to face in that series. But it looks like we will avoid Corbin Burnes, which is nice, but you're not going to avoid all of their really good starting pitchers, and that's still a problem.
100%. Completely agree with you. Darren dropping a good one here. He says, one game at a time, sweet Jesus. We got holes. Let's just jump over them for the next 5 games. It would be lovely.
I can look ahead. Yeah, I'm looking ahead to all these different games because I don't know. Yeah, he's right, though. One game at a time, man. I agree.
One game at a time, 100% agree with that. It starts on Tuesday. We will be back live after each game this week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, probably Friday as well. It is a night game. Don't know what Saturday looks like, if we'll have a show. Obviously, you guys are probably pretty used to us as the listeners not having Friday shows, or pardon me, not having Saturday shows, that is. But we will be back for sure on Sunday after that one. Some combination of us, and hopefully we're talking about the P word. And it all starts tomorrow. It all starts on Tuesday. And for Tuesday's game, for those that are interested, it is Steele versus Elders. We've already mentioned here, Steele, that 3 ERA after those last couple of outings, but still 16-5 on the season. Elder with a 12-4 record, 3.63 ERA from the righty. As we noted earlier with the watching games thing, Bally Sports South is where you can watch this Braves game. Marquee Sports for the Cubbies, and it will be on TBS for those that are out of market. So this will be a nationally televised game. It all starts tomorrow, Joey. Again, Cubs on Tap will be back Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, most likely Friday night as well. And we'll get into the weekend and be talking about scheduling shows from there. So be sure to keep an eye on what we have to offer. Joey, before we truly shut this thing down, fly the W pick. I need yours.
Mine was going to be Swanson, and I love that yours is Swanson. So I'm going to go a different route. And the other guy you mentioned, pretty good name to toss out there. I'm going to say Ian Happ.
Come through. I like that.
I think he's stepping up, leadership role as well. Been on this team for a while. He's one of the guys that you can count on, and he's going to prove that this week against the Braves. I love it.
I like it. I like it a lot. I am also, as noted, rolling with my guy, and I will encourage everybody to go listen to Dingers as always. But I was able to guest co-host with those guys tonight. I was with Mitch and Jake on that show tonight. We had a great time, answered listener questions. Some of you that might be listening now might have been listening along with us on that show. But the question is who are you expecting to step up? And that's kind of what formulated my Fly the W pick. It's Swanson. You're playing your old team. There's 6 games between you and Destiny in your first year with the team to be considered a winner. All the dude wants to do is win baseball games. That's all he wants to do in life. He wants to be a good Christian man. He wants to love his wife the right way, and he wants to win ball games. And right now, those ball games are for the Chicago Cubs. He's going to put the team on his back this week. He's going to show up in Truist Park, and he's going to be ready to put on a fucking show for the team that didn't want to pay him $177 million to be their everyday starting shortstop. Their loss, our gain. And I hope he absolutely sticks it to his old team for 3 games. And it all starts on Tuesday, buddy. Quick thought before we shut this down.
You know what? Not that he needs any more added fuel than the stuff that you just mentioned. But I got a feeling that he's got something that he feels like he needs to prove, not only to the Braves organization, which they know how good he is anyways, and whatever, because they didn't pay him. They should have paid him. But I feel like the uncharacteristic errors lately at shortstop, that might be weighing in his head a little bit too here. And I feel like it's his time, man. I really, really do. I love that call. I'm going to make a bold prediction, though, Ron. And let me know if you have any bold predictions, too. It's not quite as bold because I kind of mentioned it earlier in the show. I think Candelario, the Candyman, gets activated in this series, and I think he sparks this team for the rest of this season and possibly in this series as well, kind of similarly to how he did when he was first traded for. I think the Candyman needed this time off, and they're kind of waiting for him to get closer and closer to 100% with that back strain. And when he comes in there, watch out for the Candyman. I think we've forgotten about him a little bit just because he's been out.
Yeah, no, I like that prediction a lot, and I agree with you. I think that is absolutely something that needs to be kept in the back of the minds of Cubs fans, and something we should keep our eye on as this series opens. I don't have anything else to add. The only thing I have to add, Joey, is the like viral kind of meme TikTok where it's the oh, something happened to so and so, what's he doing? And it's the guy in the corner with the headphones on, and that music's like building, and it's like, and it looks like he's just gonna go off and just kill somebody. That's Dansby Swanson right now in chilling in that hotel room in Atlanta right now.
He's ready to murder.
Like he's dialed in. Oh yeah, he's dialed in. He's got things to prove and people to shut up. Like he's that kind of dude where I think he's ready to really go stick it to a bunch of people and let them know what's up. Darren says, "Ooh, the Candyman, cool call." Absolutely agree there.
And a lot of that is like wishful thinking too, but I do think it's a good matchup if he gets in.
That's why it's bold prediction. Wishful thinking can be bold predictions, Joey, because if it happens and you're right, then you look like a genius. So never call it wishful thinking. Always call it a bold prediction because you're confident. We're confident around here, Joey. You know what else we're confident about, Joey? That people will love us and will love our friends because Cubs on Tap is one of two official Cubs podcasts here covering the On Tap Sports Network. Follow our friends over at the Dingers Podcast. Again, they were live earlier tonight. I got to join them on that show. Be sure to catch that live catch that tonight/tomorrow, wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts, or you can rewatch it right here on the On Tap Sports YouTube channel. If you haven't already, like, subscribe, hit the bell button. You'll know when all of our great shows go live right here on the network. Be sure to follow them. They're at Dinger Cubs on the socials. Follow us as well at Cubbies on Tap. I am at Loose on Tap. At Joey Knows Nothing. Juice on Tap. Teddy Freddy 270. Nick _on Tap. Bulls Guy Rob. You know the drill. Follow everybody here that contributes to the Chicago Cubs side of the house. Bulls, Bears, Blackhawks. Only one of those three teams I think is going to have a fun year, unfortunately. And thankfully, I think it's the team that I am a part of. Four Feathers also was live earlier this evening. Be sure to check that show out as well. Bulls on Tap guys will be live soon as well. And the Bears guys will go live tomorrow, which you get to hear me yell and bitch about what happened on Sunday. So if you want to do that, be sure to tune in to that one as well. And Cubs fans, you know the drill. We got friends that like the shit bags. We need the shit bags help this week. They play the Diamondbacks for 3 games. So send your friends to our friends. They can be friends. Maybe create some good mojo for the White Sox to win games this week and help the Cubs.
Please, dear God. Please, dear God.
It's a weird conundrum. Maybe Cubs fans should no, that's asking too much. I'm gonna just retract my statement before I get myself in trouble. It's dollar.
No,
it's
finish
dollar.
Your thought,
it's dollar tickets at the South Side on Thursday when they play the Diamondbacks. Like, would the Diamondbacks get rattled if a bunch of Cubs fans showed up in Cubs gear and just booed them all day?
I think Brian's
not a Cubs fan.
I know he's a Diamondbacks fan, but he needs to go to this game because, all right, was he at two of the Diamondbacks games at Wrigley or one? He was at one for sure. But I feel like that's going to start switching to the other tide. You can't go to too many games and they win in a row. It doesn't happen.
Little reverse psychology. I see what you're saying.
Reverse,
okay,
yeah.
Maybe.
Reverse
well, yeah, I think he's going on Thursday, so let's hope at least one of those is a loss. Maybe two.
That's a loss. That's a Sox win. I'm calling it.
Mr. LeFever, we love you. We love you. We sincerely love you. We hope your team makes the playoff. We just hope our team does too, and let's keep the Marlins out because fuck the Marlins. Nobody cares about them. As you guys know, OnTapSportsNet.com, at OnTapSportsNet, on the socials, the OnTap Sports Net. Go and check out what's on tap in Chicago sports. We appreciate you, Darren. He says Cubs on Tap, the best. Joey, what do you say, buddy? We get out of here the only way we know how before we're back recapping what's going to feel like playoff baseball on Tuesday?
No crazy promo from me, Ron, but I will tell you, we're not going to say the P word, according to you. But let's start the P word. That's not quite the P word yet. Off on a good note against the Braves. Fuck Chip Carey. Fuck the Cardinals. fuck everyone else involved that's not on the Cubs side and not trying to help the Cubs win. Let's go Cubbies.
Crack them, block them, and fuck them, and let's go Cubbies.